Playing the long game versus the short game in business. We often want that instant win, the achievement that takes the least amount of work, and sometimes we actually get it. But what if you were to wait just a little bit longer to get to the goal you really wanted to achieve? What effects would that have on your overall life and satisfaction? That's not to say that sometimes the short game can't work, and that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And so I'm going to go over the pros and cons of how the short game can sometimes be a really great idea, and also how it might just make sense to play the long game when it comes to life and business. So a really great example that I like to look at when it comes to short-term gains are crowd-funded projects. I honestly back quite a few of them on this website called Kickstarter. And so basically on Kickstarter, somebody has a vision, they know it can be successful, but they don't have the capital to make it a reality. I'm a really big fan of art and books in general, and oftentimes people, especially artists that are on the web that have this amazing body of work, would love to publish their first books and get their work out to the masses, but they can't. And so oftentimes they'll go on a website like Kickstarter and they'll have the crowd fund it. And so basically the crowd will, donate so much money towards the project to see it come into light. Another example of the short game that you guys are probably even more familiar with is going to be Spirit Halloween. Have you guys ever noticed that those stores only pop up for a few months out of the year because they're themed around Halloween? So it wouldn't make sense to sell that merchandise year round. And honestly, the people at Spirit are running a really great short-term business idea, because what they do is they lease out abandoned storefronts, and they don't have to worry about going into a long-term rental or owning the building or the property, because they're only going to be there for that holiday season. And then the rest of their sales throughout the year just comes from having an online store and keeping merchandise in a warehouse where when someone makes an order, they just ship it out. And so in those regards, I think that's when short-term business goals can really be effective. You really get to analyze the market and see what the people are into. If you're running a Kickstarter idea, you can run polls and you can actually ask your fan base, what is it that you would like to see more of from me as an artist? Or not even just art, it could be someone that's created a household appliance, and for instance, they wanted to have certain features that were tied to it. Well, if they're kickstarting the project, and the project could take 4 or 5 months until it's funded, during that time, they could be doing the research to analyze what exactly it is that they want to put into it. So I think that's awesome. But there can also be a lot of cons to doing business this way. Typically, these kind of businesses have very fast returns, but they also come with super tight deadlines. I've seen multiple creators of products get really burned out from having a fully backed campaign that exceeded the goal by, 100 to 200%, but they didn't actually have a plan on how they were going to execute it and get it done by the time that they told the customers they would have it. And that can honestly really suck, because it not only damages your reputation, but you have a lot of angry clients. And typically when you do a Kickstarter or so forth, you only have a set amount of time that you can pull out of the funding. Otherwise, the money just goes to the creator. And then if they're just silent for, months or years, and this has happened to me, where they didn't say anything about the product they were creating, you're going to be really pissed off, and you're probably never going to buy from that person again. So in that regard, you really want to do your research when you're going for those short-term gains and overnight success. You don't want to piss off people and them never trust you again when you move forward with your next project. Make sure you don't get overwhelmed and overpromise when you can't execute. And so that actually might make you think, what if I played the long game? What if I spent the time to really do my research, analyze every aspect, and then put out a quality project that's going to be successful over time? And I know when you play the long game in business and in life in general, it can feel like it's taking forever and you're not seeing any progress. But typically, the more you do something, you're going to get better at it. And honestly, when you put in those long efforts, the effects are compounding over time. And so quite a few things happen. Number one is going to be you're building your brand. You're becoming known for that thing when people think about you and your company. It's kind of like Apple. I imagine when I said Apple just now, you probably thought about your laptop or your iPhone and not the actual fruit, because they've built up their brand that much. And then number two, you're building up trust. People know the quality of the work that you provide, and they're going to keep on coming back to you because they're like, hey, this guy does that thing. We love what they do. We have quite a few places here in Tucson, Arizona that sell car tires, but the number one place people are going to tell you to go is typically Discount Tires because they've built up such a reputation that they're pretty much a household name here. So you may have already noticed the compounding effect happening here. You've built up your company brand, which has resulted in people trusting what you do and the quality of your work. And the next thing they're going to do is they're going to refer you to their friends that are in the market for whatever it is that you're selling. And while the first year or maybe even the first few years don't seem that profitable, if you keep on doing the same game plan, over time, you're going to continue to see those great results. If any of you guys here have ever sold insurance, you know that's typically how it works. The first year, you're working on building up your book of business. The second year, you start seeing some returns off of that business you built up. And then the third and fourth years, it's really just passive income. You continue to grow your book and it compounds over time. Playing the long game really takes having a vision, a plan, grit, and a lot of tenacity. A lot of the businesses that we know as household names today started in somebody's garage. Dell, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and oftentimes these businesses have been started by people that never even went to college or dropped out. But what did they do? They played the long game. Some of these companies are the biggest in the world at the moment. I mean, think about it. I'm currently filming this on an Apple iPhone where I'm going to edit it later on my Apple laptop. And I'm recording on a mic that's sitting on top of a desk that I bought from Amazon.com. All of which started in people's garages at one point in time. At the end of the day, it all really comes down to what your goals are. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and some of these business owners, that's exactly their goal. They had a short-term idea that they knew would blow up, and they're looking to have a high exit where they've made multi-millions of dollars and they can just go and enjoy their life. Me personally, I'm more of a long-term type of guy. I really enjoy the grind of work and seeing the success of putting my best effort forward. However, if your goal is to get out sooner than later, then that short-term strategy of starting something great and then selling it just might be the thing for you. I don't know who originally said this, but I heard a quote once that said the most successful businesses aren't the ones that just win today, but continue winning tomorrow. So in reality, the choice is yours. Do you want to stay in the game or do you want to get out and just enjoy life? So those are my tips on the short game versus the long game. If you're really interested in how to plan out your next course of action, check out this one where I talk about setting SMART goals. And thank you for subscribing. A new video drops every week. I'll see you on the next one.